Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that mid-week break, roll around on our roller wheels. Jill's going to get some of those in a little bit as well, and talk about some of the open source and Linuxy bits going on in the world, especially the stuff we find interesting. You know?
Yeah.
Occasionally we laugh, we might even make a joke, so if you're looking for something that's just going to put you right to bed, this might not be your gem. Quite a bit to talk about this week. Coming up on the show, though, Asahi lead has resigned. OCCT, I learned about that this week, and it's coming to Linux. GIMP 3.0, and of course, Jill's going to tell you about a thing to put your Raspberry Pi in that is reasonable and affordable, and it even comes with a monitor. But up first, what have we been up to? What's been going on? Jill, you've been applying some organization to your digital life.
I sure have. My Steam collection, I've been organizing all my games into collections and kind of doing it like, first-person puzzlers, action games, open-world games, and just kind of organizing them because I have over 1,000. Ven has more than me. But I've been doing adding to favorites, my favorite ones, but I hadn't really gone through and organized them by genre of game, and it was time I do that. And so I've started that process.
You got me beat, man. I have, here's how far I've gotten. Installed.
Yeah.
I have that careful curated list of stuff that is automatically displayed that's installed. But I did go back and, what was it? Online multiplayer. For the after shows, and goes on Saturday nights when we're done on Linux Gamecast. We invite everybody to come play some games with us. And like Jill said, I got over 1,000 games too. I'm like, okay, let me see, what do we have that has online multiplayer in it? And that was like, that's a good feature in the Steam client. I like it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And they have it now where we'll automate it by tags. So whatever the game is tagged, if you have a collection with that tag, it'll move it to that area. But I'm still doing it manually because I have some unique genres that aren't really listed, like my surreal walkthroughs and stuff. There's not really tags for some of those odd games.
Yeah. And then you run across things like when you're doing a bit of archaeology on your Steam library, or might be the same anywhere else, is you'll run across games, you're like, what was that game? And you go, and I see this on the Steam store, is I'll go to the store page and it'll just be gone. I'm like, I'll never know.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like Googling it.
Yeah, Ben. So do you know what one of my first collections was? Is actually when I started here with Linux Gamecast. I did a Linux Gamecast one for all the games we played in the after show. I'd play with Jordan. So I have that category as well. And that's a lot of fun. It's fun to go down memory lane on some of the games we've played.
We played a pretty interesting one this Saturday. You might remember, it's called Haunting Hijinks. It's a remake of, Alan was telling us, you might know him from Chat Realm, Mr. Alert, is like, it was like a mini game in one of the Marios.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. We just like run around with flashlights and somebody gets to play as the ghost, and we had about 5 of us in there. Fun time. Get the video up over on Linux Gamecast if you want to go check that out. And if you're on Twitch, come hang out with us. We do it. Well, I don't know when the after show starts. Usually about an hour after that. So like we're here at 8 p.m. on Saturdays doing the show. Good times.
Yay.
So what have I been doing? Oh man, my brain has decided that it wants to get OBS up and working on one of these Rockchip ARM boards that I got going on. I'm like, maybe I'll play around with that. And my brain's like, no, we really need to figure this out. If maybe this has ever happened to you at home. I'm like, I guess I'm just along for the ride. Okay, brain, I'll just do what you want. Because if I don't, that's all you're going to be focusing on. Haven't really nailed down exactly the bits I need to make it work. And what is really frustrating is it used to work. So I know it's possible. And as with a lot of open source software, especially with ARM, this is very much like the old days of, now everything's packaged. Dependency resolution, you got it. You plug it in. It's like, oh, here's the toolchain. This is very much a throwback. And you can immediately get to this on ARM because you're like, oh, I'm going to have to build all this stuff. And you got to decide how far back and is it going to be worth it and what's going to work out. And I want to say I'm having a good time with it, but I'm also wasting a lot of time with it. But I think the end result will at least be fun to play around with. Also, I got some good news with the Orion 06. People were talking in the Rasta Discord that they found out, because if you watch the video, I plugged that Intel Arc A310 in there, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
It was cool because it didn't work. Didn't show up. Jill thinks that's amazing. She loves plugging stuff in, and it doesn't work. And Jill says what she just said. She says, that was cool.
Well, I think it was cool that you were trying. But the NVIDIA card worked. All.
The NVIDIA card worked. The AMD WX3100 worked. Firewire card didn't work. The Blackmagic video encoder worked.
Everything else.
But the reason it didn't work, my working theory is now, because people have discovered that the board has, even though it's a Gen 4 PCI Express on an ARM board, which is weird, with a PCI Express by 16 slot, is negotiation with Gen 4 is a little tougher. And it seems like it's having problems with it. So what some people were talking about is they had some cards that they just switched everything to, they forced Gen 3, and all of a sudden they picked up. So I want to go back and try that out.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
See if that'll pick up. That might be fun. Yeah, man. So that's what I've been playing around with. Let's go ahead and hop into things, though, for this week, starting with the Asahi Linux, which is a great piece. We've been following that for years, man. Amazing distribution for your new Apple ARM devices. If you got them laying around, well, things change. Things happen. Hector, Hector, pretty cool dude. He's decided, he's like, hey, I'm going to step down as the leader of the Asahi Linux project. And, this comes with, a couple of weeks ago, he got in a bit of a spat with Linux kernel developers. Everybody tried to make some drama out of it, and it wasn't really dramatic at all. But he's like, this is just like mostly burnout with the project. And you're like, man, I've had enough. And you know what? I feel you. Mm-hmm. Nothing to worry about. But what you don't need to worry about at home, especially, if you got like an M1 through M current series, like, well, what's going to happen to the Asahi Linux distribution? You don't have to worry about it. Just calm down.
Good news.
Yeah. Not only does Hector still plan on contributing to the project, which is great. I love to see it. But the Asahi project, not just one person's going to be stepping in. No, 7.
Yay.
They're going to be coming in to help and make sure everything continues to run smoothly. That's what I like to see. So, yeah, best of luck to I think Hector's going to have a lot more fun hacking instead of the management part. So,
yeah, I think so too. It's probably good for him.
There we go. I mean, yeah, Jill, I agree with you. I mean, it's sad, but I understand that. And you're like, hey, I've just had enough of this. Let me just get back to what I want to go do, which is fine. And it's good that Asahi is still going to keep plugging along, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I first read this, I was just so sad about it, because this is Hector Martin. He's an amazing developer and hacker, and basically had started reverse engineering the technology to work on the new Mac chips, the M1s, the M2s, and whatnot. And it's sad to see him step down, but we know the project is in very good hands. And in fact, one of the project developers is a friend of mine, Neil Gampa, and he works also on the Fedora project as well. So he's amazing, and all the people they have there, all the 7 are great. And I think the project is going to continue and be great in the future. But I just want to tell everyone to make sure to support as many open source projects as you can, as funding is always an issue, especially right now. There's some issues with funding and a lot of the projects, including Xorg and freedesktop.org. They're all having issues with funding. So support them when you can, and support Asahi Linux development over now at Open Collective. And I think that was a good move for them to move to Open Collective.
Good to see. Now, something that's kind of exciting when we get up next is OCCT, which is a name I was like, not terribly familiar about it.
Yeah.
I am not.
I actually knew the name because I had, long story.
Jill's going to tell you what it stands for. Go ahead.
I still don't know what it stands for. I tried to look. I thought I used to know, and I don't.
OCCT is now available for Linux, kind of technically, if you squint just a little bit. It's coming to Steam, and actually, the Linux version is available in alpha. Currently, the Linux version of OCCT is only available to the OC Base Patreon members, but it's going to be free for personal use. Something to play around, and they're going to have pro plans. Now, what is it? Well, it's a system stressy tester. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. You run it, it makes your system, all of it nuts. You know, like I use the FurMark for GPUs all the time, just to like burn them and make them scream. Just make your whole PC scream. And yeah, I like something like this for the Steam Deck, but I like it for a regular, just more tools, because earlier this week, I was thinking to myself, where's 3D Mark? Because 3D Mark said we're going to get, before the end of 2024, we're going to have a 3D Mark thing. Now, then again, this was according to Phronix too. So then again, that was like, you never know. So we need more benchmarks for the average user to look at, because I commonly use Geekbench 6.
Yeah.
And every time I do Geekbench, when I get in there, I'll put a little note like on the bar graph. So I'll just call them like scientific number digits. Why? Because somebody was like, it's not a real benchmark, because there's always that person. And I'm like, yeah, but it's what people understand, dude.
Yeah.
Number go burr. So something like this. The only thing I'm concerned about with this is, because I'm like, all right, what's this going to cost me? Because there's going to be a commercial version, and depending on what the licensing is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Oh, personal use, that's great. A lot of stuff we don't get. Personal plus Patreon use, which is, £4.50 or €4 a month. And okay, how much is the professional one? Because I'm a small business. If we look over here, if you read the mice type at the top, it's registered for small business use, which is affordable. It's not like enterprise pricing or anything like that. It was like $60 for a license. And I'm like, yeah, I'll drop $60. So what's like the bottom end of this going to cost me? Well, if we scroll down and take a look, we can get a quote, which means it's not going to be my price range. Mm-hmm. There you go. And, I'm not going to be using something like this for interfacing Linux or Linux Gamecast if they clearly have a version that, is like personal use only, do not use, and like whatever. And like maybe I can read some fine print mice type. But yeah, I'd like to see some prices on like the pro version without having to get a quote. Make a version of this that's like, hey, if you're a tiny little, one-man shop running a YouTube channel that is going to have ads on, it's going to be technically commercial by any stretch of the imagination once you put it on YouTube, that you're not going to come after me and I can use it in a YouTube video without having to negotiate a fee structure for you. That would be good. And also, I don't like the idea of yearly access. Long as I get that one version and it works. Again, I don't know anything about this software. If you've been using this on the Windows side and you know all about it and you think it's great, let me know down in the comments. What are your thoughts on this, Joe?
Yeah. Well, briefly, I had used it in academia because we had a license for it. So I've done a little bit of stress testing with it on the CPU and GPU. But with me, one of the most powerful features was the power supply diagnostics features. And this coming to Linux is huge because the other benchmark tools I don't think do power supply. But anyways, that was, I was really impressed with the software, although that wasn't, I wasn't the sysadmin at that time, but I did build the systems for the class. So I briefly went through it, and it was really, really a wonderful piece of software. And, I was just so happy to hear this, that we have another professional stress testing suite on Linux. I'm just very excited about this.
And it's going to do CPU and memory benchmarks along with latency and bandwidth. Like there's a lot of open source solutions for this, but having something that is cross-platform that everybody is familiar with. Again,
exactly.
I'll have to play around with it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's cool that Steam Deck users actually can test the OCCT alpha right now in desktop mode if you are a Patreon supporter. And that's really nice that they're doing that. So they're letting their users test it first on Linux. And all you have to do is log in and download the OCCT manually from their download page and launch the application. I am not a Patreon, but I thought about doing that just to test this. It's awesome.
I will play around with it when it comes out. I just want to let everybody know about it. Make your Steam Deck go burr in a different way. GIMP's been around forever. It has.
GIMP is awesome. And we have been waiting for this event for a long time. So our favorite graphics editor on Linux is soon to hit 3.0. Woohoo! Finally, it's so nice to see more escalated development on the GIMP. So GIMP,
we're at RC3, so maybe we're somewhere around RC86.
Yes. So the GIMP, this is actually the GIMP 3.0 release candidate 3 has been released, and the developers hope this is the final round of community testing before the stable release, which is expected really soon. And what's cool is the GIMP includes a new version of GTK3. It's GTK 3.24.48, which has helped fix several bugs in the GIMP. And it's one of the bugs it fixed is including a crash in Wayland when dragging layers. And that's very important. So this new GTK has fixed a lot of Wayland bugs, which is really wonderful. And there's an industry standard feature known as non-destructive editing is now included in GIMP 3.0. This is huge. This is huge. This is one of the features that it needs to include to be really considered at higher professional level for the industry. So non-destructive editing allows users to stack multiple filters on top of each other without losing image information through constant conversions between different bit depths. It's just huge. You can do those layers very effectively now. And this is actually a really huge change for GIMP 3.0, and community. They're really encouraging community testing. And there is also support now for loading 16 bits per channel lab PSDs files for greater Photoshop support, and that's a big deal too. And something I have been really looking forward to, the GIMP app image is now official and is a great way to test the GIMP in its vanilla state for general use. And I was really happy about that because there are times I would download the unofficial GIMP one just to do a quick install. And it generally worked pretty good, but to have it now official is even better. And so go out there and test the GIMP RC3 development version from the link in our show notes, or donate to the GIMP development. I've actually been doing that for many years. And I know Van has been playing with the GIMP 3.0, the release candidate since release candidate 1 or 2.
Yeah, ever since it hit the Debian testing, Trixie.
Debian testing.
Cool. Listen, I didn't seek it out. I just loaded GIMP one day and I'm like, that's new. Uh-oh, here we go. Yeah. And it's got some bugs. There's still working some things out, even for my basic workflow. But it's mostly the same. The one thing I didn't like that it did was it reset to the grouped tools, which is why would I want to have 2 clicks instead of 1? That has never made sense. Nested, nested, no, just give me everything. I'm used to that. And changed it back to the old icon set for the tools, not those new fancy ones that they came up with 13 years ago. I'm like, no, I needed to look archaic like I'm used to. I'm just getting used to it all being in one window. I mean, let's calm down here. If you didn't know that's how you used GIMP back in the day, multiple windows. It wasn't a cohesive piece of but it's stable. I haven't really had it crash. Some of the new layer stuff I've kind of butted heads with the way it tries to be clever in some aspects, especially when I'm taking something like I'll take like this shot here, right? Like, let's say I'm making a thumbnail, right?
Yeah.
And Jill's making a goofy face and like, yeah. And I'm not, I'm like, doing something like that. Or I'm usually here, like working on stuff. If Jill's talking, even when I'm talking, I'm like, cause I'm switching the show and I'm keeping all the back end stuff going and I'm trying to pay attention to. So what I'll do is then I'll just like scoot the video and find like me going like, something like that. And so I'll cut it and paste those two together for the YouTube thumbnail. So I'll take a little square and I'll cut that, copy it. And it tries to be clever because the old GIMP would just dump that right in the middle of the, new image that you'd set up, when you'd created this one's like, oh, I'm going to move it to where it was on where you just copied. And when it works, it's nice. When it don't work, it fights you. So yeah, it's been fun to try to get that little teething things, and the way it's stacking layers is a little bit different, and everything that you copy into by default creates a new layer. So this is like something I've had to learn, because traditionally, if I'm getting ready to like copy and paste something, I beat it into myself of like everything gets a layer. I don't care. If you see screenshots, like when I'm working on like interfacing Linux thumbnails, sometimes I'll post them like when I get close to the end, I'll ask for like A/B type stuff. There'll just be a stack of layers. Why? Yeah. Because that's how you keep stuff noted. Organized. So now I end up, because I got that muscle memory of like, oh, I'm about to copy something in, create a new layer. But when you paste something in, it automatically creates a new layer. So I end up with all these blank layers in there.
Yeah, that's happened to me a lot
this
too.
Gets a lot more confusing because all of my layers are named to Bob.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't give them real names, and I'm not even joking. It's like whatever the default word is, like that just stays until I change it to the next time. So yeah, good to see. I don't know where to download the app image. So I went to the downloads page. There is the Flatpak version.
Yeah, I found it.
It's not on the download page.
Huh.
So
actually, go scroll down further. I thought it was at the bottom of the download
I just
page.
Control F app image on this.
Oh.
And if it doesn't say app image on it, it doesn't matter. It's not there.
Oh, okay.
Did they hyperlink it to the word "the"?
Yeah. I found it somewhere.
Let's check our development downloads. Install
there it is.
Flatpak.
That's where I found it. Yeah, that's where I found it. So
there we go.
I downloaded RC3 and I haven't played with it a lot, just within the last 2 days.
Yeah.
And just opening and closing files. But here's what I did notice. It ran a lot better on Wayland.
All right. I'm still using it on X11 and not quite as fast.
Oh, okay.
2.0. But then again, I'm also on Debian. I'm tracking Trixie, so I'm basically on Debian testing. So the GTK stuff is kind of wonky in the background anyway.
Yeah.
I saw Redsky ask, is like a Photoshop parody? No. No. Fight me. It's not. That's the reason, like, we see stuff like Blender, like, slowly. The biggest thing holding back Blender is really powerful. It just doesn't really fit into existing tool chains very well right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe that'll change in the future as tooling works into. Mm-hmm. But yeah, what drove me crazy, maybe I'm completely wrong, and that wouldn't be the first time. I don't have any problems admitting that. I will go back to, I was watching a person on Twitch getting ready to go live on YouTube, and they're like, I need to make a YouTube thumbnail. And they did something that made my jaw drop. This is how primitive I am. You're like, I use Linux. I don't have Photoshop. I haven't used Photoshop since the 90s, man. So,
yeah.
And he opened up Photoshop and he took just like a picture, like, let's say Jill there, and he clicked on a plugin, and it was one of their background removal automatic plugins that just instantaneously snapped, and it did a perfect job of it. And I'm like, because that means, for me, I got to like crack open the lasso tool, man, and start
manually
it out, right? And like just watching that, I'm like, that would have took, like 4 minutes to do. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how it. So little things like that for me would be a huge time save. I'd love to see it. Maybe that plugin exists. If it does, let me know. I'd be happy to play around with it and give you my feedback.
Yeah.
Cool, man. GIMP 3.0, go play with it if you use GIMP. And I have a good time. I love the software. I have all of the crazy shortcuts stuck in my brain meats over the years. I'm the keyboard person when it comes to shortcuts, and it still boggles me that Control H is the thing to paste a layer. But like, hey, all right, I'm used to it. I know how it works. Beautiful. Now, I was talking to Jill about this in the pre-show. I saw it, and I'm like,
what is it?
It's a laptop? And Jill's like, no, don't be silly.
So this is actually something cool for your new Raspberry Pi 5 or any single board computer of your choice.
Love this in the upper right-hand corner. Look at this is like, this is a biblically accurate Raspberry Pi holder.
Yeah.
Be not afraid.
a laptop to put your Raspberry Pi 5 in at a very reasonable price. So this is Elecrow's CrowView Note. It's actually a laptop with a 14-inch monitor, a keyboard, a touchpad, microphone, and speakers. And it's actually really an elegant and lightweight solution, for those on-the-go tasks, but using your SBC, which is awesome. And it features a really nice 14-inch IPS panel with 1920 by 1080 resolution that is 100% sRGB. One USB Type-C, two USB Type-A's, a built-in 5,000 milliamp battery, a 3.5 headphone jack, and mini HDMI port. And it is compatible with many single-board computers, including Raspberry Pis, the NVIDIA Jetson Nano development boards, the Rock Pis, Orange Pi 4B, Latte Panda, BeagleBone, etc., etc. And you can connect your smartphone to CrowView Note to unlock, its desktop mode and use it on a larger screen. And what I was impressed by this is you can buy it now for $169 on the Elecrow website, and it actually has a little bridge board that you need for $6.90 to plug your Raspberry Pi 5 in. Some of the SBCs don't need this little board, but the Raspberry Pi 5 has that. And I guess it's just to make it more stable in the case. I'm not quite sure because they didn't go into detail on that. And but yeah, I was really impressed by it. You can also buy a CrowView Note with a Raspberry Pi of your choice already included. And I put this in the show notes because not only is it the lowest priced laptop shell for an SBC,
what are you talking about? I'm looking at it. I'm taking a look and I'm kind of perusing. We're looking at a side view right now, and this is not like your big chunky 3D printed. No, that looks like it's built out of metal. Yeah, it's nice.
Nice. It's really thin, sweet,
slick,
and
the only big issues I'm going to take with this is when we scroll up to the top, 5,000 milliamp is. Just to be perfectly honest with you, a 1080p screen at 14 inches is going to look rough.
It is. I was just, it's happy. I was happy that it was sRGB 100%, which is really nice.
But what Jill's going to get to is it's $169.
Yeah, I know. It's only $169 on, like I said, on the Elecrow website. And it has the little bridge board that you need for $6.90 to plug in your Raspberry Pi 5. And there's a couple other boards that require that little bridge board, which I'm guessing is for stability or just to, kind of plug it in the slot nicely. There it is. Ben found it and brought it up. Thank you, Ben. And yeah, so we've talked about before in the past about different companies that have made basically these laptop shells for SBCs, but they've been really expensive, like $400 to $600. So I was surprised about the cost effectiveness of this one.
This
under $200.
Looks nice. I want to see it in somebody's hands. I want to see how much it flexes. I want to see how stiff it is, and like that screen, because like even on a 10-inch tablet, like. I'm sure some people still have some 1080p 10-inch tablet, 1080p.
Yeah.
We don't realize, because if you're a certain age, you're like, well, 1080p is good. We're used to like 2 and 4K IPS displays. So I would definitely like to see higher resolution option for that. But for the price, $169, if you need something to put your Pi in that you can carry around, it's portable. Boom. That is a great price for it. And again, construction quality, I want to see how that keyboard feels. That might be an amazing thing to get a
Yeah,
hold to.
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, I found it on Amazon, Vin, at $189.99. And that's where I initially saw it. I'm like, oh, what's this? And so it's $189.99 with 20% off coupon. And I'm like, well, I have several SBCs laying around like a Raspberry Pi 5. I could use this. I think it's cool.
I'll go play around with it. And so and CrowViews, they've been doing stuff for a long time too. This is not some random company.
It's a well-known company.
Yeah. And it's already funded. It's out there. And that's what I was worried about. When you go to their website, you get the traditional of like, wow, that's a bunch of 3D rendered poorly looking things. Like what is that supposed to be, an apple over there? There's like clip art of the coffee and everything. But no, they're legit. They're legit. But as to what this is and how it's going to play around, I'm looking forward. If you get one, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious to see how it works for you. All right. So that's going to wrap us up. As I said in the pre-show, hey, we do a Linux Gamecast. You want to come hang out with us? We were playing some games, haunting hijinks in the after shows, and we'll be back 8 p.m. here on Twitch live. We got the podcast if you want to listen to that. We got Linux Gamecast. If you scroll down here, it's just the second one. You don't have to scroll that far. We got this show, Linux Weekly, Daily, Wednesdays, available on all the things. And if you like what we do, that's why we got the support tab. So you can become one of our beautiful party patrons and get a gang of rewards as a thank you, knowing that you let us keep this show loud, live, and independent. And as I like to say, you might not agree with everything we say, but we mean it and we're not being influenced. Also, I'm not trying to sell you a mattress this week. Maybe I'll try to sell you a mattress next week. I get so many of these offers. I bet, yeah. I could probably do an entire show every Monday of let's just go through these horrible and they did it because I got that Amazon store. I got that Amazon store on Linux Gamecast. If you're curious about that, you go to the About section, you go to our studio equipment. It's all the Linuxy stuff I got here in the studio that I've reviewed over the years, or the stuff that I use in production. And then the Fedora project links to that on one of the Fedora pages for their Linux thing. So it gets a lot of traffic, which sends some signals to all the Amazon sellers to send me. And it's just dumb stuff too. And it's here, do you want these magic butterfly wings for your mobile phone to stick? And I'm like, no, stop. And they're all but we'll give you some money. I'm like, nah, it's cool, man. We got all of our patrons. Patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. That way you can come hop in our Discord, come hang out with us, get live and uncut versions of these shows. Plus, you don't like the YouTube, nobody's going to blame you. Hey, you don't have to worry about using YouTube DLP or getting blocked. None of that. No commercials. Higher quality video, better audio, right on Patreon. Video I put up just for you, guys and gals, each and every week. And of course, hey, if you're into the audio, video, multimedia content creation, or you just got some questions you want to ask old man Vin, head over to Interfacing Linux, so you can find that little review I did for the Rosda Orion 06, and I got a forum over there that I meant to talk about at the beginning of the show, because I love...
Very active. It's been very active, I noticed.
I love it when we get a win, because I got an email from a dude. I'm not calling you out if you're watching the show, dude, but it's always weird. It's always weird. I just get an email. I don't hide my emails. I'm easy to get a hold to. It's Vin at interfacinglinux.com, Vin at linuxgamecast.com. It's Vin on all the social medias. I don't try to hide from anybody. And got an email for Interfacing Linux, and it's hey man, can you give me some tech support? I'm always happy to do that. But if you know me, if you ask in our Discord, you ask on IRC, you ask on email, I'm go post it in the forums. Why is that? So we got a record. You got a tech question? You got something? Because I got a weird set, for, doing broadcasting, audio work, and video work under Linux. I've been doing it well over a decade. And I like to share that knowledge, but I don't, but that one-time thing in Discord, that one-time thing in an email, the next person with that question isn't going to be able to find it. So I will always direct you over to the forums. I'm hey man, hit me up on the forums. Happy to get back to you. And he did. I love it. He's hey, nice. Here's the question. And I'm I just happen to know everything about that. I'm not patting my own back, but I'm very happy to help you out. And don't worry about it. It's coming in kernel 6.14. And it's safe to go ahead and buy. So that was a great transaction. Love to see it. And yeah, interfacinglinux.com. You got some questions about some stuff? Happy to help you out. All right. Well, speaking of those beautiful patrons, Jill, let's cue up that bouncy music.
Aww.
And roll out for this episode of Weekly Daily Wednesdays.
We'll thank our wonderful patrons, including our Theron, our advisor, our executive producers, Barbran, Scott, Atomic, Mike, the Targos, our Chicago Kicks level, Basil, Empty, Caseiclism, Glorious Egg Roll, Sea Monsters, Veritanuda, Treggy, Mike, our Death Notes, Kim, Chris, me and my Steve husband. I never mention that. I'm on there too. And our chairlings, Mir, is in there, and several people watching the show right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been fun. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got one of those. It's new one. See, like every 2 weeks now, I remember to mention it. I'm getting good, man. I'm getting pro at this.
Yes, you are.
Like and subscribe.
Yes.
Fam.
Smash that bell,
there
fam.
Yeah, seriously, like everybody, like if you do like the video, like even if it's not our stuff, anybody that you're watching on YouTube, like you are like, hey, I like this person, I like what they're doing. That like button, dude, it doesn't feel like it. Like I've gotten in the habit of doing that myself because I watched like how that's helped Interfacing Linux, help them out and share their shows and their videos. And we can all hopefully like tear back some of the techtainment that's taken over the media. All right. See you next time. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.
Bye, all. Love you all. Thanks for watching.